How you doing, guys? Today we are going to continue some work on the hood. As I had indicated in one of my other videos, the original tank strap, one half of it had snapped off over the course of time, so the prior owner drilled a hole in the hood, put a small screw to screw the remaining original portion of the tank strap into place. What I'm about to do is to reinforce that area because the original hood caved in. It actually popped in from the weight of the gas tank. My prior video, I took the dents out and took the cave out of the hood. One thing I try not to do is add any kind of heat to the hood. These hoods are so paper thin, so as soon as you start welding or trying to braze weld or anything like that, it becomes just a total disaster. And this hood's in pretty darn nice shape for what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually reinforce the hood. So I cut a patch, a 3x3 patch. I drilled the appropriate hole, and I'm going to epoxy it in place, basically in this position to a point. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to put the original screw that they had back in the hood, so it'll look nice and clean from the top side, and it will provide enough support for, one, the hood won't cave in, and two, the screw won't pull through. Also, what I noticed is that this hood actually is cracked right there a little bit, right at the last weld. Basically what happened to that tank strap will eventually happen to this tank strap. So again, took a piece of steel and we'll epoxy that into this position in order to hold everything together. Pretty simple process. 22 gauge piece of steel for both pieces, cut them to size, hand sanded it with 150. Then I'm going to hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad to get all the dirt and old paint out. Then with a piece of 36, I'm going to scratch up that metal, get a good tooth. I had DA'd this down with, I believe, 60 grit. I think that's what the disc was. It was a 60 grit. So I have a good tooth on that. All right, when I get back, we will have these things pretty much epoxied into place, and then we'll go from there. Okay, well, I sanded it down with the Scotch-Brite pad. I also hit it with 36 grit sandpaper to get a nice tooth on the metal. I did make a couple locating marks because I kind of bent the corners, as you can tell, a little bit, so it conformed to the hood as nice as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the epoxy and some weights, and we're going to glue that bad boy in there and put the weight on it to let it set up overnight. One thing I did do is I used some brake cleaner on a paper towel, and I made sure that this thing was as squeaky clean as possible. This piece of metal, also the hood. That way we have no adhesion issues. Well, there we go. The pieces of steel are underneath all this. The epoxy's been mixed up, troweled on. Troweled it, buttered both pieces of steel, both sides of the steel, put it on, put some weight on top of them to hold them in place. This one you really can't see because it's underneath all that stuff, and then we are. The piece of steel is completely epoxied in. I scuffed it with a Scotch-Brite pad, same as the support right here for the tank strap. And I just gonna get a little bit of Rudy metal primer and just put it on, paint it on with a brush, probably a little tiny foam brush, and the repair is done. Well, there you go. The patch is completely in, and it's been Rudy primered, as well as the strengthening strap on the tank strap. Everything is in really good shape. So let me flip this thing over and let's take a look at the finished product. As you can tell, the hood is ready. What I did on the outside initially is I taped around the original decals. And those were originally water slides, and that's what exactly is still kind of there. I taped around it very carefully,
and I sprayed it with some Duplicolor engine clear, just to seal that old water slide decal in. Somebody had taped it off and painted around it because the paint's not original, but I wanted to save the decal, so that's what I did. Put maybe 3 or 4 good solid coats of engine clear out of a rattle can over it, pull the tape off, and then let it dry for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. The next thing I did was I hit the whole hood with 4-0 steel wool. That really got it good and stripped down clean. Got all the dirt and anything that the simple green didn't take off. And then I used Mother's wheel polish, mag and wheel polish on it, to get the bulk of the heavy ground in dirt off. Then I used a 3M polishing compound, and then a 3M like glaze. And as you can tell, it came out nice. At least good enough for me. You know, good enough for this tractor. It's gonna have a real. It looks really killer on the tractor itself. I did clean the gas tank. It's right there. It's about ready to be reinstalled. There will be a thread on a throttle restoration or refurbishing or refurb, whichever way you want to. Oh, real quick, everybody asks me about my toys. They see stuff in the background. As you can see, my basement is a dump. One of the other toys I got buried in the house here is a I think it's probably like a 65 Ruttman Toad. It's a washer frame Toad. I don't usually show it because it's behind me on these videos down in my basement, but it's an old washer frame Toad. And the other thing that's really cool about it, it was a chromed. That frame was chromed. It is one of my projects that I really want to do, but I really want to have it re-chromed. And some of the prices that I've gotten to have it re-chromed are just through the roof. It's literally sat in this basement right where you see it. I'd say maybe 14 years. Yeah, it's got to be 12 to 14 years. It's been sitting right in that one spot. Maybe one day it'll be a project for the channel. I don't know. But right now, we're still working on this tractor. And as you can hear, I'm ruining parts. But anyways, there it is, guys. The hood is done. I'm going to start putting it back together. Gas tank, throttle, kill switch. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.